So in this video, I wanted to do a quick comparison between two of the top erasable pens sold today, at least in the Japanese, or from the Japanese manufacturers. First, we have the Pilot Frixion line, and that's Frixion, Frixion. And then we have the Uniball RE. These are both series or types of erasable pens. Frixion are probably more popular here in the US, but you do see the Uniball fairly often, mainly from Japanese pen resellers. And again, popular choices. You may be trying to decide between the two, and I want to explain why I go with Frixion every time. The one caveat I will say is that Uniball tends to have better designs and more interesting pens than Pilot, at least in these erasables. So that is worth noting, and it's easy to get drawn in by their interesting designs. Like this is the RE2. You can see it has this weird hexagonal shape, red, and this dark gray color. Here is the RE3, and this one you can see it's a 3 color with a push button, a cool safety mechanism, so you can use the eraser while it's upside down. Interesting pen. From Pilot with the Frixion line, definitely not as cool looking. This is just a standard retractable pen. This is the just a Pilot Frixion ball. This is kind of like when I use erasable pens a lot, this was my go-to. And then this is the Pilot Frixion point. That's just the capped pen in a needle point. So both are good, but I do like this Frixion ball better. So Uniball has better designs, but I really wanted to show you the ink, and that's where the real difference is made. So I'll start off with the Frixion ball. Not bad, right? It looks a lot like a standard, maybe a cheaper gel. It does this thing where it's sort of like railroads here, where the ink it gets like squished out of the middle and it goes on the two sides. You can see it better there. That's very common with this, but you have pretty good saturation overall with the ink. It looks like a normal blue. Maybe a little bit grayish, but definitely a solid blue. And this is the Frixion point. A little bit lighter there, but definitely not terrible. And this is a 0.38 millimeter, I believe. No, 0.4 millimeter. So it's a lot skinnier than that 0.7 millimeter. Let's move over to, we'll do also blue in the RE3. This is the much lighter. It looks like a gray almost. I'll write with this one again. So you can see a lot lighter. Some breakage there, some breakage there. These two are definitely subpar. And that's my problem with the Uniball RE series. It's just like the ink is just not good. Just test out their, I just use blue in the Frixion, but let's try the black. This is the RE2 black. They sometimes call it dark gray. If you have ink that's supposed to be black and you have to call it dark gray because you can't make a full black, that's definitely a deal breaker for me. So you can see it there. It looks like a dark gray. Again, my guess is it was supposed to be black, but they just couldn't pull it off. Now I'll check off their red. RE2 red. Let's write more to get some characters in there. And the red is actually not terrible, pretty reasonable. Again, I don't think we're approaching the saturation of that Frixion ball, but it's at least acceptable at this point. Now let's move over to eraser performance. With the, I would say, the generally accepted conclusion that the Frixion point and the Frixion ball look better than the Uniball inks. It's a pretty good erasure. I'm using this nicer Clairefontaine paper, which is smooth and relatively strong, but almost no ghosting there. And there's no wear to the paper because it's just a hard plastic eraser, and then I'm not doing enough rubbing on the paper to wear any paper away. You see a little bit there, but definitely not terrible. If we weren't looking for it, we wouldn't see it. And then, so the RE2 doesn't have an eraser. You're supposed to just use this hard plastic, which is just like counterintuitive, but it actually works fine. Definitely, I would say maybe a little bit more visible, but not bad. It's a good erasure rather. And now we'll try this out. This is actually pretty hard as well. It's really not much softer than the cap, but it is a little softer. And that does a better job. You're better off with a softer, more rubbery material, even if it is on the hard side, than you are with something as hard as this that's just sort of ill-conceived. And then lastly, let's just switch over and we'll use this, which is the softest of the rubber eraser. Still, it's harder than a normal eraser, but we'll use this across the board, and we'll see a comparison of eraser performance. When you're going back and forth that much, you do get a little bit of eraser buildup. So you can still see the actual, like the pressing in the paper, and that just is a factor of having a skinny point from the pen. And you're never gonna get rid of that, especially on a paper like this. But it looks like the performance is about equal. If anything, I would say these two disappear the most, but it's sort of cheating with they're the lightest inks by far. It's a lot more impressive to have these two darker, more saturated inks disappear as much as these lighter ones. And you can see where it really etched that E in there. So anyway, that is just a long way of saying that if you're in the market for erasable pens and you are looking for a nicer or cooler Japanese pen, definitely check out the Frixion line. I've been thoroughly unimpressed with the RE series. Thanks for watching.